Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So far at Cheltenham we've had the Supreme Novice and the Arkle. I think we've got some things right without actually picking the winner. A few things that I've highlighted previously in videos that are standing up for sure. Irish horses in novice events just have so much better campaigning than the British horses. They actually take on decent horses. They're put into races, they learn, a couple of months ago somebody actually replied to my video and put a great point about the Irish horses. They fight to the line and they take each other on and become battle hardened and match fit. The British are going to get slaughtered at Cheltenham. Now, it's only 2 races in, but it's not a great start for the British. I think the Matata finishing 4th was the highest placed finish so far. I think, did Ireland get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the Supreme? And another thing that somebody had previously suggested was Gaelic Warrior's at least a stone worse going left-handed. I completely disagreed with that. I said it's all based on his defeat in the Boodles. He beat everything bar Impair a Pass in the Ballymore and won the Liffey handicap on the bridle. I thought we'd got him beat turning in when Founder 50 went past, travelling beautifully. We beat the horse that I said would reverse the form with Il Était Temps. Il Était Temps? Yeah, Il Était Temps. So many French names at the moment. Beat that horse, but finished second. Gaelic Warrior was way too classy. Great move from Willie Mullins to drop him back to 2 Mile. The horse has clearly got a huge amount of ability. But anyway, let's move on to tomorrow, and we'll start off looking at the Gallagher's, the Bearing Bingham, the Ballymore, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, Ballyburn's form has just been well franked with Slade Steele winning the Supreme, and even Firefox finished 3rd in the Supreme. Ballyburn, that's the only horse to have beaten Ballyburn in his career, was Firefox, so that form looks rock solid. He's going to win it. There'll be a non-runner, so that, what have we got? We've got 8 runners at the moment. There'll be a non-runner, so that you only get the front 2. Il Atlantique, I think, will finish 2nd, and the rest will be nowhere. I'm surprised to see this money for Jinko Blue, the Nicky Henderson horse. Moving on to the 210, similar story. Factophile beat Gaelic Warrior. Obviously, that form has now been very well franked. Factophile surely wins the Brown Advisory. I would be, if you want to have a bet, the bet in the race is stay away fair if you want to bet, because he at least has won at the Cheltenham Festival. But I think Factophile is very classy. The fact they went so quickly over fences with Factophile, they didn't want to waste a season over hurdles. That's essentially what I think they did with Factophile. They were like, this is a chaser. I mean, they finished 2nd in the Cheltenham bumper and went, we've got a chaser on our hands there. Let's go straight to chasing. They didn't want to waste a year running around in hurdle races because they think they've got a future Gold Cup horse. And yeah, I think Factophile takes all the beating there. We move on to the Coral Cup, and you'll notice that I've now hidden the ratings. Obviously, the first 2 races, I think top rated wins it, and it's not surprised to see who is top rated in those first 2 races. The 3rd race, the Coral Cup. Who do I like in the Coral Cup? Well, I'm sticking with one that I've highlighted previously, but I think I'll be dropping the other. No, ignore that. That's the Thames Final I'm talking about. The Coral Cup, sorry. Who do I like in this? Langadan, obviously. Won this race last year off the same mark. I think it was soft when he won it. So I don't think the ground will be an issue. I think he takes... I think he's going to take all of the beating, isn't he? They've been targeting Cheltenham now for the last 4 years. They finished 2nd once. They would have gone close when coming down the 2nd year. It was soft last year. It's going to be a little bit softer come tomorrow. But yeah, he still goes very close off that same 141 mark. So he is the obvious one, Langadan. The second one that I like in this race is Might I, who I think ran a really good race last year in the Martin Pipe, beaten by Iroko, No Ordinary Joe, and Buddy One. Now, Buddy One's come out and won a couple of races since. Iroko is fancied for the Turners, and No Ordinary Joe has been handicapped to try and get him back for the Martin Pipe again. Might I ran there off 145. He would run tomorrow off just 142. I don't think the ground's going to be an issue. He has got some form on like soft and heavy. Obviously, he finished second at Fourth at Cheltenham on soft. He was second at Cheltenham on soft. He's also finished second, not far behind Complete Unknown on heavy at Newton Abbot. So I think the form's there. Yeah, he's probably one that I do think can run a really big race here. I don't know whether I want to do Doddy the Great, because I think Nicky Henderson's horses are in just woeful form. It's up in trip, it's stamina sapping. I'm going to leave him out. I'm going to leave out Doddy the Great because of the ground. He's stepping up in trip. It's going to be run on nearly heavy, if not heavy. And Nicky Henderson's horses are just in woeful form. So it's just going to be those two in the Coral Cup for me. Langadan off the same mark. Mai Tai off a, did I say £3 or £4 lower mark than when finishing a decent fourth last year in the very competitive and decent Martin Pipe. Move on to the 330. Oh, let's have a look at what prices we can get about them, sorry. Langadan is available. You can get them at 9s. And you can get Might Eye at 14s. You can see that the money that was for Doddy the Great is starting to go the other way, because I think we know how badly Nicky's horses are running. Moving on to the 330, I think El Fabiolo wins this. Even more so with the Nicky Henderson yard looking at a form with John Bon. I mean, I still think John Bon finishes second. But I will be leaving that race alone. We're moving on. We're going quite quick here. Into the cross-country. If it goes ahead, the heavy going or soft ground will really, really suit Delta Work. I'd be surprised if Delta Work doesn't go off favourite tomorrow. I think he'll definitely go off a shorter price than Manila Indo. Obviously, this money for Cocoa Beach could be the interesting one if they really think that the ground is going to suit him. But Delta Works' defeat, for example, of Galvin last year on soft. He also beat Tiger Roll on heavy. That's proper good form, isn't it? That's really top-class cross-country chase form. And yeah, he's going to... I think Delta Work will go off shorter price than Manila Indo. It's whether Cocoa Beach is the fly in the ointment. The other one for Gordon Elliott, does he want to take another new one into it? You know, he's won the cross-country a few times with Tiger Roll. He's now won it a few times with Delta Work. Is he going to go, well, where's my next one? Okay, Cocoa Beach is my next one to continue the run of Gigginstown winners. But I'll be playing Delta Work. I actually think Galvin won't run because of the ground. They have suggested that if the ground was wrong, he would be saved for the Grand National. So I don't actually think Galvin's going to take his chance there. We move on to the 450. The Johnny Henderson Grand Annual. And there's a couple here that I'm interested in. One of those, I am going to take it out. The one I am going to take out, I'm actually going to do a little switch with the trainer, probably. I'm just going to double check on my other screen. First one that I do want is Saint Roi, the one who's clearly been laid out for this, isn't he? He won the county hurdle a few years back now. He's finished second to Abracadabras in a grade 1 hurdle. He won the county hurdle off a marker 137. Okay, he's much higher still. He's still rated 152, but he has been higher rated over fences, and clearly, yeah, his best run was when given a very a test run at Fairyhouse. Is he well handicapped, or do we need to stick to the graded races? They went round and realised that he is well handicapped, or is handicapped well enough to go close in a race. And I think they kind of then tried to get a few pounds off him again by finishing well beaten at Leopardstown, but that actually didn't work. But yeah, I think Saint Roi will run a really big race in the Grand Annual, the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual. The ground's not perfect, but I certainly think he can cope with this ground. If we go back to his winning the county hurdle, that did come on soft ground. It might be nearer soft than heavy come race time. The one that I'm going to take out of my equations is Calico, because I don't think he wants this ground. If you look at his previous form on the likes of good to soft, good to soft, good. These are his last few runs, good to firm. Clearly the trainer thinks he wants better going. That's where they've been running him in those types of races. I think that is a big tell here for Calico. The horse that does potentially interest me, therefore, is the one that does have a little bit of soft ground form at a bit of a higher level. And that would be Unexpected Party. Got to remember, Unexpected Party went off 8-1 for a Coral Cup a few years ago. He pulled up that day. He went off 8-1 off 1-4-2. He runs here off 1-3-8. So he looks well handicapped on that basis. He's then been contesting some pretty good races. His second to Napper's Hill was a good effort. His fifth to Stage Star on soft ground, that wasn't bad. He then didn't really act well at Sandown when well beaten by Le Patron in a Grade 1. But he's slowly dropped in the handicap and he's come down to a very workable mark now. He's come down from a high of 146 this season down to 138. They're dropping him back in trip to 2 mile, and obviously with the ground being as it is, you do want to stay. And this horse certainly does stay. So he is one that certainly goes into my equation here. And they're probably the two I'm going to be selecting in this race. They are Saint Croix at 7s, now he's at 7s, and Unexpected Party at 14s. And in the final race of the day, the 5:30, which is the Champion Bumper, I mean, you have to be looking at the Irish horses, in my opinion, here, because of, especially with the ground as it is, I think they generally have better bumpers over there as well. Who do I like? Still the two that I've highlighted previously. You Ought to Know, who finished second to Jeroboam Machan, which I think was very, very good form. They were in front of Redemption Day. I really like that form. I think that will be shown to be very, very strong form. And the second one I like is Jalon Dudery for Gordon Elliott. So I'm actually saying Willie might win it with You Ought to Know, or Gordon might win it with Jack Kennedy. I'm taking on Patrick Mullins, who generally gets the pick of the Champion Bumper horses, but I think he's got it wrong this year. So they are currently, Jalon Dudery is available at 7s, and who was my other one? You Ought to Know is available at 11s. So they're my two for the Champion Bumper. So quite a small betting meeting card for me tomorrow. Ballyburn, I think, wins. Factor wins. I've then got a couple in the Coral Cup in Langadan and Might I. We did have both of them last year as well. El Fabiolo just wins. Delta Work will love the ground. I think he takes all of the beating now, and I don't think Galvin will run. I like Saint Croix. I think he's been well handicapped, and the JP horses are going quite well. And I am switching the Dan Skelton one to the Harry Skelton ridden Unexpected Party, who, because of the trip, he will definitely stay. Whereas Calico might find this happening, this all too tough for him with that ground, because I think he just about stays 2 mile anyway. Only just about stays 2 mile. And finally in the bumper, You Ought to Know. I think that's really good form behind Jeroboam Machan, beating Redemption Day. Jalon Dudery also beat Redemption Day, and I think that's top quality bumper form.